Going live. You're listening to Spectrum One Voice FM. So Mabel, we have a story now of defiance, protest and defiance, and an arrest.
We do, yeah. I've been reading this, treating it almost like a bad story, but as you frame it, it's empowering in a way. So let's get right into it. So this is about a transgender woman who was arrested after washing her hands in the toilets of the capital of Florida. She's done this quite openly. Her name is Marcy Rentingen, I want to say. Apologies for that there. She was quite openly doing this to challenge the law recently, which makes it illegal for trans women to use the bathrooms for the gender that they identify as. This is a second-degree misdemeanor, so you can be punished for up to 60 days in jail. Rentingen is currently, after 24 hours, been released. But she's going to have to get court hearings in probably the next few months, so we'll have to keep on to this case and just see exactly what her fate is. She's worried in a way because ultimately what will happen, regardless of the duration, is she's going to be sent to a men's prison because she's trans, and that means she's either going to be one woman around a lot of potentially dangerous men, which could go very wrong, or she's going to be isolated and suffer not being given her medication, so she'll be forced to detransition, maybe get her head shaved because she has very long hair, and that's not something that they can necessarily facilitate in prison. And it's going to be an awful experience either way. And to be honest, though, I think there are some agencies there's some government, well, not government, there are some bodies in the world who think it's even against human rights, really, to have trans women be treated this way. Again, you can get isolated. That's terrible for your psychological health, and we can only keep an eye on this person and make sure that they do get out as well as they can.
Yeah, there is another part of the article which is disgusting, where it says some people have suggested I'd be in prison for life, or should have to register as a sex offender, or be killed, and it makes me sick.
For using a toilet, that's terrible.
For washing her hands.
Yeah.
That's horrific. Fair play to her for standing up, though. Solidarity with her.
Solidarity.
Yeah, definitely. All right, do you want us on the other side of this? We're going to have to get these two songs in. Then I'm going to do...
Still recording.
Going live. You're listening to Spectrum One Voice FM. As we come up close to the hour, I just wanted to fit this in quickly. This is a news article, an announcement by Belfast Pride.
Oh yeah.
It is in keeping with what a lot of other prides are doing. So Belfast Pride has become the latest pride across the UK to ban political parties from their event. It is in response to the puberty blockers ban that is supported by a number of political parties across the UK and Northern Ireland, including parties like Sinn Féin and the Unionist parties in Northern Ireland. So Sinn Féin rolled back on their policy of supporting, for allowing puberty blockers and standing by the trans community, and cucked it to the Labour government and decided that they would support a ban.
So disappointing.
This political ban by Belfast Pride follows the same decision made by a number of prides and trans prides in and around our country. Southampton included. Southampton Pride has banned political parties.
Yes.
And we're Trans Pride Southampton.
We've never had political parties. No.
Even though Southampton Pride banned them last year, a certain political party did enter Pride and started leafleting.
But they asked to be removed. I heard about that.
Yes, they were removed.
Yeah.
The reason why we have these bans, listener, is because we cannot trust mainstream political parties. There are few political parties we can trust to support the trans and wider queer community. And because of the puberty blockers ban, and because so many parties are wishy-washy on trans rights anyway, it's easier not to have political parties to be, so the pride is not associated with that political party.
So people are assured that they're safe, and they don't have, because there's a, I speak about this as someone who's a part of a major part of a major political group, which has been really disappointing me lately, where I say that the individual campaigners or individual groups that are out there in Southampton and other places, they can be really friendly
Yeah.
to trans people, to queer people. Some even have queer people and can't really understand these bans because they might just so happen to be gay and not really understand why, you know, their national party banning puberty blockers for our trans youth there would be extremely offensive to have in one of our events. They can't seem to maybe think about that because they themselves are queer, but it can be so distressing to have to read about this on the news, and you go to a Pride event where you think, you know, you can protest this, you can be yourself, and you see those snakes right there. Yeah, you see their badges that happen to be rainbow colours for that one day in the city and stuff. It's extremely upsetting.
And a lot of political parties try to argue the point of Pride is political.
I think the organisations have the right to say Pride is political.
Yes, it is.
But it's becoming almost anti-party political at this stage, where every political party, certainly the ones that have the majority right now, are against us in one way or the other, or not completely for us, just like with puberty blocker bans there, where, you know, Pride is extremely political, and it will be without political parties at the events, because it's a protest and it will always be that way. But political parties just need to do better, and I think it's so right that they are getting banned from major prides across the country.
Yeah, it's a decision a lot of prides have decided to take because they just can't trust the parties' platforms.
Yeah.
Okay, join us after the hour for more news and gossip and queer stuff.
Voice FM.
Oh shit. Going live. You are listening to Spectrum on Voice FM, the queer show for the queer community in Southampton, across the south coast of England and around the world. I hope you're having a fantastic weekend. You're joining us now for the second and last hour of the show. We'll get right into it now, Mabel. This story...
Some good news.
It's some good news, but as trans girls, we kind of had a suspicion this was the case.
Yeah, no, definitely. So there's been a study where the findings have been released that trans men, it's been found, do have a better quality of life after starting gender affirming care, and do tend to feel much happier when their appearance closely resembles the gender they identify as. So yeah, I think this is something that's extremely obvious to trans people, trans women, trans men, non-binary people, all are like that. Of course, as you do transition and your appearance changes in a way that is in line with the gender you identify as, it will all make you a lot happier. So this was a study with 166 transgender men from the Nottingham Trent University, that's in the UK, and the Breda University of Applied Sciences in the Netherlands. So yeah, quite a, for a trans study, to I say 166 trans men is fairly large, especially over the fact it's over 2 countries too.
Yeah.
So there's certainly some validity in this study. And I think it's quite important to talk about the findings of trans men especially, because when we look at trans folks, gender critical people, they think we're evil trans women, but with trans men, they have this narrative that, they're just lost sheep that have accidentally stumbled into the trans ideology and they've been twisted into something they're truly not. So to have a study affirming, hold on a minute, it's not, the regret rates aren't higher than trans women. They do also lead happier lives, trans men, after transitioning. I think especially for trans men, it is very important to have this study.
Yeah, this is a good study. This is good to have. As I say, we kind of knew this already from the trans men that we know in our lives.
Definitely.
Yeah, they tend to have it slightly cushier than we do.
So the annoying thing, testosterone does
it's such a good hormone.
Yeah, when you want to be masculinized, it's a lot more powerful than estrogen.
The lead researcher, Dr. Liam Cahill, who's also senior lecturer in LGBTQ plus psychology at NTU School of Social Sciences, said earlier studies showed that trans people responded positively to gender-affirming care, but there has been less research on specific results for transgender men.
Yeah, they do kind of get forgotten about sometimes, trans men, like cisgender men, really sadly. So yeah, it's good again that they've had a study just for themselves there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is good news. Well done, trans men. It's all power to you. Join us after these.
So yeah, I'm happy to hang with you two. We can talk over the stuff I wanted to.
Yeah.
I just need to grab some stuff in the middle. But I can obviously climb up on that after you guys.
Right, going live. You're listening to Spectrum on Voice FM. So I have a story. We've talked about Trans Kids Deserve Better on the show before, haven't we, girls?
Yes.
They have taken their protest one stage further. So as you mentioned on a show previously, Mabel, they've been picketing outside West Streeting's constituency office.
Yeah.
Laying coffins, little tiny coffins, outside the door, in protest at his enactment of the puberty blockers ban.
Yeah.
And his continual his continual supping to anti-trans groups that he allows to come into his office, talk to him, sit down, have a punjab with, and
Yeah, and you never talk to trans people.
No. So two of the number of the Trans Kids Deserve Better accosted him, I believe at a conference somewhere in London. And one of them came up to him and said, "Could you bear to look us in the eye and tell us that you will let us die?" That's quite powerful.
Yes.
And another one, another comment I've got here was, "You accept £175,000 from private donations, yet you deny trans kids a voice. Instead, you value the opinion of 8 anti-trans groups when banning puberty blockers. You're interested with parents who believe in abusing us, showing them your support and sympathy. Why not us? Listen to us. Our lives are on the line."
It's truly disgusting, the groups that he's been talking to. There was one of them, we talked about this quite a while ago now.
Yeah.
One of the groups is that I believe they published on an online forum page where they talked about how they weren't able to find therapy for their trans child because they were attacked. And they weren't able to find a therapist because all the therapists in their area would affirm their trans child with the gender that they identify as. They couldn't find a therapist that would be against that, hostile to their trans side, but help them through their abuse, what happened to yourself. And there's a trans kid out there somewhere that is left to suffer because of the groups that the Health Secretary of the UK right now is openly talking to change legislation.
These are parents who don't love their kids.
No.
They don't. They see them as property and a mirror image of themselves and their ideals.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Fair play to the Trans Kids Deserve Better for doing that protest.
So inspiring.
Really are in your face, aren't they?
Yeah.
Proper.
That speech was quite powerful as well.
It makes a lot of sense. He takes £175,000 from private donations, most of them anti-trans groups and private medical companies.
Yep.
Yeah, all right, Wes.
It's to Bassett.
And Portsworth to